So what are we going to cover? We are going to cover who is SAP, what does SAP stand for. We're going to understand a little bit about the products and services that SAP has as a company. We're going to understand a little bit more about the SAP products and solutions and the evolution of the product. We're going to understand some of the SAP data and transactions. We're going to see how a typical SAP implementation looked like. What are the different phases of SAP implementation? This is the agenda for this session. So first thing is, who is SAP? This is a company that was started in Germany in 1972. So the bottom line on this screen is, this company has been there for a while. They are the market leader in what we call it as ERP applications. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, and they are the market leader. They have a market share of about 70%. They have about 25,000 customers in 130 different countries. They have about 30,000 employees in 50 different countries, and their head office is in Germany. They also have 25 different industry solutions. Industry solutions are modifications to the existing software that they sell based on the industry that they are selling. So they have an industry solution for automotive, they have an industry solution for apparel, they have an industry solution for retail, they have an industry solution for banking. So for pretty much any industry, they have an industry solution. The base product doesn't change. It has some additions based on the industry that they sell. SAP stands for Systems, Applications, Products. So that's what SAP stands for. People call it SAP and not SAP. They also have about 1500 partners. What we mean by partners? So this is a software company. It has other software companies as its partners to develop software. They have consulting companies that sell and implement SAP software, and they have a variety of different partners, and there are about 1500 partners for them. This is just an annual report of SAP as a company. All this slide tells you is the market share has been steadily increasing since the late 1990s. It's a big market share. The revenue has been pretty steady in terms of dollars and euros. There are very few companies that compete with them. If you look at it, Oracle is the closest competition. So at this snapshot, SAP has got about 59% market share. Oracle has got just 15. So the next closest competition is Oracle, and they have got about 15% market share. This is just the landscape of how the ERP market looks. If you divide companies by large, upper mid-market, lower mid-market, and smaller businesses, the market segment for companies have been divided based on the size of their sales. If you take large companies and define them as anything over $1 billion in annual sales, what they need is they need global functionality. More than likely they are operating in more than one country. They want transactional scalability. The number of transactions that they would be doing is going to be constantly increasing. They probably want sophisticated reporting to meet a variety of international requirements. So companies like SAP sell for large companies. Global functionality, transactional scalability, and sophisticated reporting. Those are the reasons why companies go and implement softwares like SAP. Upper mid-market, $250 million to $1 billion. Companies that compete in this space include SAP. There are a few other products like PeopleSoft, Lawson, Oracle, and Microsoft also has got a product that competes in this upper mid-market. Same thing applies in the lower mid-market as well. Oracle in the last few years have been acquiring a lot of this software companies. So JD Edwards, PeopleSoft, Bond are some of the companies that Oracle has purchased. This slide pretty much tells you is ERP market. Across all different market segments, SAP does compete, and Oracle has been acquiring companies in the early 2000s. Big vendors dominate this ERP market. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So across an entire enterprise, this software is implemented. And big vendors dominate it. The top 5 owns pretty much 70% of the market share. The size of the ERP software market alone is about $25 billion globally. So now we know who SAP is. Let us look at some of the services that SAP as a company offers. So what as a company SAP offers? So the SAP services are, apart from selling the software, they do these following things. Active global support. So they pretty much help you in any questions regarding planning and implementation of the software. Typically the big 4 consulting firms help you develop an implementation plan for the SAP implementation. SAP Consulting. SAP as a company also offers consulting services. Typically they are not engaged. Consulting firms are engaged, or in-house teams are built to develop SAP implementations. SAP custom development. In case your company needs a custom solution that is not met by standard SAP software, they have capabilities in Germany and few other countries to develop a custom program to meet your needs. SAP Education. SAP Education is a service that they offer to customers, partners, and employees. Just education about the SAP software, education about the different things that the SAP software can do. SAP Hosting. They also have services to manage SAP solutions from a remote site. SAP Ramp Up. They constantly introduce new functionality for the different companies. So they have a team called a Ramp Up team that builds new functionality constantly. Tools and technologies and methodologies. They have tools and technologies and methodologies that they support. this is just to give an idea of what SAP Services offers. None of them is required to have an SAP implementation. Typically, SAP Education, there are few classes that the consultants are sent or the in-house team is sent to learn about SAP. None of these services, I reiterate, none of these services are required when you purchase the SAP software. These are some of the services that SAP as a software company offers. Let us look at some of the products and solution SAP has. Let us just take a flashback of where we were in the late 1970s. The late 1970s, during the industrial age, you pretty much had disconnected functional silos. You had purchasing, you had finance. Those two were not connected. They were disconnected functional silos trying to build operational efficiencies in their own silo. That's how the industrial age was. In the information age, people want real-time insight and response. They wanted an integrated process. They are constantly reinventing in this global age. So the key in information age is it's customer and value chain centric. People within the organization and also their suppliers and customers are looking for real-time insight, and companies are looking for integrated processes, adaptability. That's key for information age. How has the SAP product evolved? If you look at it, in the 1970s, mainframes were popular. So SAP built a product called SAP R2. R2 stands for Release 2, based on mainframe architecture. So the goal of SAP R2 is the standard software. It was trying to replace existing applications. So you had computers were new, companies were implementing new computers. So SAP R2 came up with a mainframe based ERP to replace existing applications. As we talked about, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So it is trying to connect all the functional silos based on a mainframe architecture. So they were trying to get you an integrated processes. That's what SAP R2 based on mainframe is or was in the late 70s. Then came the client server architecture. SAP calls it Release 3. Release 3 is based on R3 is based on client server technology. It's more focused around internal business processes, integrated processes. So companies were spending millions of dollars implementing SAP R3 software in the late 1990s to replace existing applications, and also as globalization was happening, trying to come up with a common business processes across the corporation. So SAP R3 or Release 3 is based on client server technology that the companies were implementing in the late 1990s. SAP is getting into the web market as well, called SAP NetWeaver. But this client server technology is the most popular out of the SAP products. Another different screen of how their product has evolved. The original product screens looked something like this, an old purchasing screen, a grayish in color. It's character based. The late 1990s they came up with a product called mysap.com or Enjoy SAP with lot more graphical user interface and lot more office integration. Lately they have been playing around in the web market, same screens enabled via web. So that's how the software product has evolved from left to the right. A different way of looking at the SAP product evolution. The R3 product, it had its own releases. So people talked about 4.0, 3.1H, 4.6B, 4.6C. These are releases within the R3 product. These are different versions of the software. Think of it like Microsoft XP, Microsoft Windows Vista, Microsoft Windows 7. This is how the versions are played. So the 4.6C, 4.6B are different versions of the R3 software. This is pretty much the application core. So how has R3 changed? Now R3 Enterprise, SAP no longer calls it as R3. It is replaced by something called ECC, Enterprise Central Component. It's a very similar product. It's the same product. They have just gone with a different name. It's no longer called R3. It is called Enterprise Central Component, or ECC. The base component, the base software that SAP sells is now called SAP ECC. SAP ECC stands for SAP Enterprise Central Component. What are some of the characteristic features of the software? The first thing is integration. Anybody that you talk to about the benefits of an ERP application or SAP would tell you integration is their biggest benefit. What is integration? All the different modules of SAP share a single database. So when you talk about a single database, there's only one point of data entry. If somebody has entered the data in the organization, that data is stored in a single database and is available to be used by other parts of the organization. So that's pretty much what is integration. The other thing is real-time updates. As and when transactions are getting posted in a department, all the other departments are getting updated real time. So it's cross application integration. As transactions are posted within one module, all related functions and modules are automatically updated. Flexibility. What is flexibility? When you are implementing SAP, it has a variety of different options, or what SAP calls it as customizing the different modules of SAP to meet your business needs. It also allows unique development tools for your own application development. It allows you to customize screens, allows you to customize reports based on your need. Worldwide usage. It allows you to do multi-currency reporting. Pretty much on any currency you can do your reports. Multiple language support. It allows you to do business in multiple languages. So if you are based out of North America and you are operating globally and you want to be able to log in different languages across the world, you can log in different languages to the same single database. A variety of customized reporting for individual countries to meet the needs of the government, to meet the needs of the taxation departments. It allows you to connect to different third-party softwares as well. It is enterprise-wide. It uses the leading practices across a host of different industries. So these are some of this is a very important slide to understand benefits of SAP or an ERP product. Integration, all the modules are connected, all departments are connected. Flexibility, it allows you to customize the software for your needs. Allows you to do worldwide reporting, multi-currency translation, multi-language support. It allows you to connect to different third-party softwares. It is used across the enterprise, and it also incorporates the leading practices across the businesses that operate in this world. This is just a footprint of the IT applications that a client of mine was trying to implement. So what does this chart tells you? This little box here, this is ERP 2005 or ECC 6.0. SAP now calls it Enterprise Central Component 6.0. That's the latest version of the software. This is the core component of the software. This core component has modules that are listed here, 1 through 7. These are some of the modules that belong to ECC 6.0. When you are buying the SAP software, and if you are buying ECC 6.0, which is the most common software that SAP sells, this is the most popular and the most fundamental of an ERP implementation. This has finance and controlling, sales and distribution, materials management, production planning, human resources, quality management, plant maintenance. These are some of the modules of ECC 6.0. This is the core SAP product. This core SAP product ECC 6.0 has this 7 modules plus a lot more, but these are the most popular modules that are out there: finance and controlling, sales and distribution, materials management, production planning. The top 4 are the most popular modules that are implemented in any SAP implementations. The next layer here, SAP has got products called new dimensional products. The base product works really well. That is the most fundamental basic foundation that you need. But there are additional functionalities that SAP offers in this next set. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, Strategic Enterprise Management, Supply Chain Management, Supplier Relationship Management. This green layer is an add-on to the base product. Any advanced functionality around supply chain management, any advanced functionality that you need around supplier relationship management, customer relationship management, strategic enterprise management. So these modules here, FICO, finance and controlling, sales and distribution, SD, materials management, production planning, these 4 modules pretty much has an add-on. You want to think this green layer like an add-on to the base product. So any functionality that you don't see in sales and distribution is probably offered in CRM, customer relationship management. Any functionality that you don't see in purchasing, in materials management, you probably see it in supplier relationship management, SRM. Anything that you don't see in production planning, is probably offered in supply chain management called SCM. Any advanced functionality that you don't see in finance and controlling, like consolidations, is probably offered, or is offered, it's not probably offered, is offered in strategic enterprise management. So this is the first inner box, is the core ECC 6.0. The next layer is also an SAP product. It's called new dimensional products or add-on products. The next set is also an SAP product. Additional functionality, travel management, global trade services, treasury and risk management. These are some of the add-on products that SAP sells on top of this first two layers. The next set is what is called as, we talked about SAP has 1500 partners. So these are some of the partners that sell software along with SAP. SAP probably markets this software as well. So SAP has got some product called Vistex in the customer segments regarding chargebacks and rebates that operate in a retail environment, is offered in a product called Vistex. Triple Point is a commodity trading product that one of the SAP partners makes. So Triple Point is a company by itself that sells a commodity trading software that integrates well with SAP. Vertex, this is a tax package that integrates well with SAP software. Dart is a archiving tool that integrates well with SAP. Nakisa, this is an organizational chart reporting software that integrates well with the SAP product. What I want to reiterate on this slide is the innermost is the most fundamental SAP product that you are probably implementing as a company. The next set is an add-on product that you buy on top of this core. The next core is another additional layer of add-on product that SAP sells. The next layer is its ecosystem. This is the partner products that SAP sells. These partner products offer some unique functionality that this base product doesn't offer. Let us dive a little more in depth on this SAP R3 core components. As we talked about, R3 is now changed into SAP ECC 6.0. 6.0 is the version name. ECC is Enterprise Central Component. These are some of the basic modules within this SAP ECC. Most popular modules: financial accounting, called as FI; controlling, called as CO; asset accounting, called as assets management. It's part of FI, but it's just unique in itself. Project systems, industry solutions. We talked about industry solutions that are offered previously. So these are additional enhancements that SAP offers for select industries. Workflow is an email system within the SAP software. Production planning, PP. Materials management, MM. Purchasing and inventory management is what SAP calls that MM, or materials management. Sales and distribution, SD. Customer service is part of SD, but it's just called out separately because it's kind of unique. Quality management, plant maintenance, HR. So these are some of the modules that are offered within the core SAP software called ECC. So as we talked about the SAP core product ECC, right? Let us just remember SAP ECC. The core product has different modules. What's a module? Module represents a logical grouping of the business processes and functionality. So it's a logical group of how you could think of your business processes. FI stands for anything that deals with general ledger, accounts payable and accounts receivable. Finance, that's FI. CO, controlling. It's just management reporting within an organization. Sales and distribution. And XXX represents pretty much any other module that you could think of. In the next few slides, we are going to talk in depth about select SAP modules. What you want to take away from this slide is a module within the SAP R3 or ECC. R3 is an old name, ECC is its latest name, Enterprise Central Component. Represents a logical grouping of the business processes and functionality. The other key message on this slide is, because it's an integrated product, a change in one application module will result in an automatic update of data in other applicable modules. Because it's all connected, a change in one place, a change in sales and distribution can result in an automatic update in either production planning or in finance. All application modules have a common architecture and a user interface, so you won't see the difference. The advantage of a product like SAP is the user interface is exactly same across all these modules. Another way of looking at the core components or ECC. Purchase orders, they are all related in this module called materials management. Material 1, material 2, that's part of materials management. Sales and distribution, let's take sales and distribution. Invoicing the customer, billing the customer, sales orders, that's part of SD. Operations, bills of material, operations, that's all part of production planning. Controlling, expenses, expense reporting by department, that's CO. Product costing, that's controlling. Financial data, general ledger, accounts receivable, accounts payable, that's FI. You can easily now think purchasing has to be tied to accounts payable. Sales and distribution has to be tied to accounts receivable. Production planning and product costing are related. BOMs and routings are connected to your product cost, how you cost your product. The salaries that you pay in HR is tied to finance. Plant maintenance is tied to production planning. What operations, what work centers and what machines are you doing maintenance on? That is directly related to how you plan your products. So all this is part of the core component or the core product of SAP called ECC. A bunch of acronyms out there. That's how SAP consultants call these modules: FI, CO, PP, SD, MM. More in depth of all this core components. What is FI? FI is nothing more than it tries to meet your external reporting needs. General ledger accounting, most common module that is implemented across SAP, FI and CO. Within FI you have GL, AP, accounts payable, accounts receivable, asset accounting. Those are the most 4 popular sub-modules within FI that gets implemented. The first 3 at least. Controlling, cost center accounting. Any expenses that you post goes against a department in an organization. That is all recorded in cost center accounting. Profit center accounting, it's just a reporting dimension, viewing your manufacturing plans or stores in a retail setting. Reports are done off of profit center accounting. Profitability analysis. How much money are you making in a region? How much money are you making with a customer? How much money are you making with a product? All kinds of profitability analysis is done in this PA module. So cost center accounting, profit center accounting, profitability analysis is all part of CO. Management decision making represents the flow of cost and revenue. FI, external reporting, deals with general ledger, an income statement for the company, a balance sheet for the company comes out of GL. Accounts payable, accounts receivable. Accounts payable is tied to purchasing, accounts receivable is tied to sales. Those are sub-modules of FI. Asset accounting, that's its own sub-module within FI. CO, management decision making, involves cost center accounting and profitability analysis. And it also, CO also includes product costing. HR, it's personal management, time management, payroll, training. That's part of the HR sub-module of SAP. More on the core components. Sales and distribution, sales orders, shipping, transportation, billing, electronic data interchange with your customers, all comes out of SD. Production planning, master planning, capacity planning, materials requirements planning, MRP, production orders, BOMs, routings, all are part of PP or production planning. Materials management, it supports two different functionalities. Procurement, which is purchasing, and inventory management, how you store your goods within your organizations. Inventory management and purchasing, both are called materials management within SAP. More on select components. I'm not going to talk about customer service and project systems. You can read through it yourself. Warehouse management is a sub-module within inventory management. It allows you to manage bins within your storage location, within your organization. So in your warehouses and distribution centers, you have warehouse management of SAP implemented. Basic stock management within a warehouse or a distribution center. That's where this WM module comes in. These are selected components of SAP. This is all part of ECC. Every one of them have the same user interface and share the common architecture. Quality management, QM, quality planning, quality inspection is all part of QM. Plant maintenance, equipment maintenance, maintenance orders, they're all part of the core component. The key message that you want to take away from all these slides is same user interface. They're all called modules. Their modules mean logical grouping of the business processes. They're all integrated. One point of entry. If you enter data in one module, more than likely it is going to apply against all the other modules as well. If you do a transaction in one corner of an organization, most likely it is going to have a real-time update in other modules of SAP. Another way to look at how SAP modules are connected, and specifically the FI to CO integration as well. If you look at the value chain here at the bottom, any company that deals with procurement, has procurement, they buy something from a supplier. Procurement, that's materials management. Produce, they are making something, that's production planning. Most or almost all manufacturing companies make something. That's production planning. Moving stock. You're moving stock from one location to the other or within the location. That's moving stock. You're selling and billing the product or service that you make. So this is a typical value chain of any organization. You buy something, you make, you're moving stock, you're selling and billing the product or the service that you make. SAP calls moving stock and procurement as MM or materials management. Production is called PP. Selling and billing is called sales and distribution. That's pretty much the supply chain component or the logistics component of SAP. It's all part of the base product ECC. All of them have a financial impact. When you buy something, you have a liability. You do a goods receipt on the product and you have a liability as well. When you produce something, you have produced finished goods from raw materials. Has an impact on FI. Moving stock or scrapping things, it has an impact on your finance. You're selling and billing the customers, invoicing and the customer receivables. That's part of FI. So FI has general ledger postings, accounts payable, accounts receivable, asset accounting. They all can originate within itself, or is it result of procurement, production, moving stock, or selling and billing. So all of these supply chain transactions impact FI. You can implement FI on its own. There are journal entries that companies post within the FI module itself that has got nothing to do with this. All FI postings that happen on the P&L side, P&L, profit and loss, or income statements, the balance sheet components resides within FI. The income statement component goes into the controlling module. The controlling module is blown out here. From FI, you have an FI chart of accounts. From FI chart of accounts, there is something within SAP called cost elements, primary cost elements. Any income statement related stuff, whether it is revenue or cost, go into the CO module using what is called as a primary cost element. So every account number in FI is created, every P&L account number, let me correct, P&L account number, profit and loss account number or income statement account number, revenues and expenses, no balance sheet, revenues and expenses are created as cost elements within the CO module. You are getting into the details of the CO module here. How is FI and CO connected? Overall, we talked about FI deals with external reporting, CO deals with management reporting. So CO has something called cost elements, most basic within CO. These cost elements are created for every P&L account. You create them, and that's how the data goes from FI to CO. And then you have cost center accounting within CO, where you can run your expenses by cost center, budget to actuals by cost centers, budget numbers and actual expenses in a given department. That typically comes out of cost center accounting. Product costing, what is the cost of a finished good that you produce, the material component, the overhead component, the labor component that goes in producing a finished goods, is all part of product costing. And that's how the inventories are measured. Inventories are dollarized based on the product cost. And that's how the inventory and the balance sheet in FI is updated as well. That's why the arrow goes down. How do you do the cost on inventory. That's based on product costing. That's how the FI module in balance sheet gets your report. Profitability analysis. What's profitability analysis? We talked about PA as a sub-module within CO. Pretty much anything that you do underneath goes into PA. That's why the box goes from the left to the right on the top. Any expenses goes into PA. When you ship a product, when you bill a customer, that goes into PA. When you procure something and you have a purchase price variance, that goes into PA. So PA gives you the profitability of a product, a profitability of a customer, a profitability in a given geography that you operate in. It's a reporting module within CO, within this base product. So this screen pretty much tells you this is the most popular ECC combination that they implement. They implement MM, PP, SD along with FI and CO. These are the 5 modules that most implementations have: PP, MM, SD, FI and CO. In this screen we have basically highlighted what is FI, which is external reporting, and CO, which is management reporting. CO has got cost center accounting, PA profitability analysis, product costing, and profit center accounting. Profit center accounting is nothing more than reports by profit centers. We'll get into more details of what profit center accounting stands for, but what you want to understand is FI and CO. Any P&L account that you create in FI goes into CO using cost elements, and all these supply chain modules have an impact on FI and CO. I think we talked enough about the base ECC product. Now we are going to quickly go through some of the add-on products of SAP. SAP has got products called Supplier Relationship Management. The MM module does purchasing, but anything that you can't get done in MM, you want to do some strategic sourcing, you want to do record all your RFPs, requests for purchase, you want to do some web portals for your suppliers, that all comes under SRM. Supply chain management, any advanced planning, demand planning, any collaboration that you want to do with your customers, that's all done in SCM, supply chain management. You want to do some pre-production product lifecycle management, that's done in PLM. Anything that is before pre-production, design and development, that's the SAP has a product called PLM. CRM, anything on the sales side that you can't get done in the SD module of SAP, that's done in CRM, like e-commerce. Channel management, you want to manage what channels that you sell, you want to analyze more of your partners, that's all done in CRM. So this screen tells you there are add-on products that SAP sells on top of the base product. In the next few slides, we're quickly going to go through SRM, SCM, CRM and PLM, what the differences are and what they basically serve. CRM, if you blow the sales on top of SD, you can have a CRM. You can do a campaign management. You can do pretty much a campaign for a new product that you're launching in CRM. You can do some creative promotions for your customer base when you're launching a new product, that you can manage in this CRM product. That's pretty much CRM at a very high level. All you want to take away is this is an add-on product of SAP apart from its base SD product. If you want any advanced functionality within your sales organization, you are looking at CRM. SEM, production planning, is the base module. But if you want to do any advanced collaboration with your customers on planning, this is the module that you are implementing. It's called SCM, Supply Chain Management. Also SAP calls it APO, Advanced Planning and Optimizer. Advanced Planning and Optimizer. These are some of the sub-modules within the APO: demand planning, supply network planning, detailed scheduling. All you want to take away is this is an extension of the PP module. Supplier Relationship Management. We talked about the MM base module, materials management, as a base product within ECC. SRM is an extension of MM. You want to do some web portals for your supplier, you are looking at SRM. You want to do some RFPs and auctions within your supplier, you are looking at SRM. You want to manage your catalog, supplier catalog, you are looking at SRM. Strategic Enterprise Management. Any functionality that is not met within FI and CO on the finance side, like business planning and consolidation. You are doing some budgeting and you want to do some sophisticated budgeting, you can use the business planning software within SAP. Consolidation. You want to do an enterprise-wide consolidation that cannot be done within the FI CO. You have to purchase the add-on component called consolidations within the SAP product suite. You want to do some balanced scorecard on corporate performance management for your C-suite. You are looking at a CPM product, which is an add-on product on top of the base. NetWeaver. If you've been familiar with SAP, this is the technology component of SAP. So far what we have seen is all the functional component or the business component of SAP. You looked at a lot of functional modules of SAP, how it's all connected, what are the different acronyms. That's what you have seen so far. NetWeaver is the technology part of the SAP software. It has something called Enterprise Portal. It's just a website. If you want to enable any of the business functionality on a website, you pretty much have this NetWeaver. NetWeaver is part of the base component of SAP. This is just the technology piece of it. Enterprise Portal. Business Warehouse. Any robust reporting that you want to do, they have a warehouse product called Business Warehouse called BW. They interchangeably call it as Business Intelligence as well, BI/BW. This sits on top of the base product. It extracts all the data from all your modules that you talked about, PP, MM, SD, FI and CO. It does reporting. Extracts data from your transactional system and does reporting. That's BW for you. Master Data Management. If you've got SAP and non-SAP systems and you want to put all master data at one place, you're looking at an MDM tool called Master Data Management. Exchange Infrastructure. You want to talk to SAP and non-SAP systems, you are looking at some XML integration, you're looking at the XI piece of the software. So this is just a technology view of things. This NetWeaver comes along with the base package. You probably as a business consultant won't even know what a NetWeaver is, but NetWeaver is just a technology term that SAP has. So far we looked at SAP's products and solutions, different modules, different add-on products that SAP sells. Now we are going to look at data and transactions within SAP. What is a transaction? Give some examples of different data that SAP holds. So SAP data and transactions is what we're going to look at. So SAP has got something called organizational data. This is probably the first thing when you're implementing SAP, your consultants are going to talk about. Organizational data. Every module within SAP has got some organizational data. This acts as the foundation for your implementation. for all your transactions to happen within SAP. This is the foundation. Every module has got organizational element. FI and CO has got the bulk of the organizational elements called company code. You want to do balance sheets and P&L, you want an org unit, and that org unit is called company code within SAP. You want to have manufacturing sites or retail locations, SAP calls them as plants. Okay, that's an org element. You want to have a central purchasing organization, that's an org element. So organizational data, what you want to take from this slide is every module within SAP, PP, MM, SD, FI and CO. These core modules of SAP or the base modules of SAP all have organizational structure or organizational data or organizational element that you will be configuring in the system. These are initial setup, one-time setup that you do when you implement SAP. This is the foundation that must exist before any business processes can be modeled or executed. This is the key message here. Foundation which must exist within SAP before any of these modules can be modeled or executed. It also defines the linkages between all these different things. So if you have plants and all of them are connected to one legal entity called company code, you are pretty much connecting them. When you are defining a plant, you are defining plant X, and you also link the plant to an FI org element called company code. That pretty much establishes the link within your organization. What is configuration data? Once you define the organization, that's the first part. You define the organization, set the organization up. How is your company set up? You do that first. Then the consultants are going to do configuration. What is configuration? There are a bunch of tables behind the scenes within what SAP calls it as customizing. Customizing is nothing more than customizing and configuration are used interchangeably. Configuration, customizing, same thing. They are table driven settings within SAP. You are basically setting what are the different sales order types that you're going to use. So in SD module, the first thing you set up is an organizational structure called sales organization. In configuration, you go and say what are the different sales order types that you're going to use. So configuration data is nothing more than table driven settings. This is the second thing after the organizational structure is defined. The consultants are going to talk about sales order types in SD as an example. Product costing has got something called activity types. That's within the CO module. So these are one-time setups. They are table-driven settings. This needs to be done before any transactions can be posted. So the first thing that we learned is organizational structure. These are the foundation. The next thing is configuration data. These are table-driven settings, one-time setup that your consultants have done to get your system up and running. Configuration and customizing within SAP are one and the same. This is to model how your organization is going to do, how many different kinds of sales orders you're going to have. That is defined in customization. Master data. These are static data that represent things. So if you think about it, GL account number, that's static data. How many different accounts do you have? Those are static data. It's not an event. Event is a transaction data which we will get there. This is a central repository. So we talked about integrated software, right? We said if you do it at one place, most likely it's going to be used at other modules of SAP and you don't need to repeat them. So this is a central repository. So product master, bills of material, customer master, vendor master, these are all master data within SAP. GL accounts, These are master data. So the first thing is org structure. We talked about org structures as the foundation. The next is configuration or customizing, configuring your systems. Sales order type is a good example to remember. Master data is static data that gets created by the company. So this is ongoing. Master data is an ongoing thing. Customizing is a one-time setup. Org structure is a one-time setup. Whereas master data is an ongoing thing. Static data that represent things. It's a central repository. Examples are vendor master, customer master, product master, bills of material. That's master data. Transactional data, that's the fourth thing. It's a dynamic data. It's typically changing, created many times in a given day. Production orders, sales orders, journal entries, cost center allocations. You're moving dollars from one cost center to the other. All this, you're creating invoices, you're creating goods receipt, you're creating purchase orders, sales orders, you're creating deliveries, you're creating invoices. All of them are transactional data. It records a business activity or an event. A transactional data uses it uses organizational data, it uses master data, it uses configuration to record an event. Transactional data and master data are done by end users of the system. The business users of the systems post transactional data, create master data. They don't do customization or configuration. They don't define the different sales order types. Or probably your consultants and your SAP team is building all the configuration and the org structure for you. The transactional data and the master data is done by the end users. So this is a good slide. This is the SAP application. Remember we talked about the different modules. Inputs are master data, your configuration, company code, configuration like sales order types. You use master data like vendor master, customer master, material master in all these modules, and you get an SAP document on the right. So relevant data is used by SAP transactions when creating transactional documents. It knows when you're creating a sales order, it needs to use a customer master. It needs to use a sales organization. It doesn't ask you to retype them again. Each transaction will create a document. What is a document? It's a unique ID to record your transaction. Every transaction that you do can be tracked. It also records user ID, who is entering it. It also records the time of creation, what time it was created. It also records any supporting information that you can provide. Supporting information, time of creation, user IDs are all recorded with this unique ID. And every transaction document has a unique ID. All transactions, most of them are virtual transactions. They're all in a database. They're not paper documents. But if you want to attach paper documents like printing an invoice, printing a purchase orders, you can do that as well. Or you can even electronically transmit to your partners, customers and suppliers. All of those options are available. So transaction documents have unique ID. They also record user IDs, who did the transaction. It also records the time of creation and any supporting information. Documents are all virtual. They're all stored in the database. You can also create paper documents if needed. Most SAP documents have this thing called header and item information, but more to come. All you want to know is transactional documents are created based on org data and master data and configuration. Another example of how transactions work. Some end user here is trying to perform a sales order. He or she is trying to create a sales order. The sales order creation will access the master data. They are typing in the customer ID. They are saying use this customer ID to create the sales order. SAP automatically goes behind the scenes to look at the credit limits. This is configuration, credit limits for the customers, and saying, okay, yep, this guy's have got customers or has got credit. So the sales order gets created, a document is generated, a unique ID is created. It will record its time of creation. It will also record the user ID that created the sales order, and that sales order will be used for reporting and analysis. So this is how a typical SAP transactions works. An end user is entering a transaction. An end user also enters a master data if needed, but when you enter a transaction, it goes and accesses master data records like customer master. It also goes behind the scenes to access all the data tables. Then it creates a sales order for you. Reporting within SAP. There are multiple ways to report within SAP. You have a search help. You can search pretty much anything in SAP. Any data that is stored in SAP, multiple ways to search them. Multiple ways. You have what is called as a transaction list. You have like a bunch of transaction codes. You pretty much type them, it will give you a report. There are a lot of queries that you can write within SAP. There are something called ABAP. ABAP is nothing more than the technical language behind the SAP software. This technical language, you can write any number of reports you want. That's an ABAP report. Also, SAP has got this data warehouse called BW. It extracts all the SAP raw data, and you have slicing and dicing that you can do on this BW tool. So what you want to take away from this slide is variety of options to do search within SAP. Variety of reports can be built. A variety of standard transaction codes will be provided to you by module to access information. And it also has a BW tool called Business Warehouse, where you can do slicing and dicing of the data. It extracts all the transactional data, and you can do summary level reporting and slicing and dicing. That's all you want to take away from this slide. So far we saw products and data and transactions within SAP. Now we are going to quickly talk about an SAP implementation, different phases of SAP implementations. Different phases of SAP implementation is what we are going to talk about. And what is an SAP implementation? So what is an SAP implementation? Two phases for an SAP implementation. First is called the setup phase. The setup phase of the SAP system is pretty much your consultants working with your business users and your IT team to say what is your future business processes going to look like, how is it going to be set up, the configuration that we talked about, the customizing that we talked about in previous slides, the organizational data that we talked about. They're going to do the setup phase. That gets you going. Then what is called as a live phase. Live phase is where the business users uses the SAP applications to support their daily operations and activities. Daily transactions are entered after the live phase. The setup phase and the live phase. That's what an SAP implementation is. The setup phase is basically comparing your future state business processes and its requirements. What is offered in SAP? What do you really need? Trying to do a fit and gap analysis. This is what SAP offers. This is what your needs are from a futuristic standpoint, not your current state, your future state business processes. You also analyze your current state and look at where does your current state lie, what are some of the benefits of your current state, what are some of the pain points that you have in the current state, and how the SAP software can help you. That's pretty much what before the live phase, the setup phase of an SAP implementation. SAP is not successful without the organizational support. Without extensive implementation and support effort, you can't have success in an SAP implementation. So two phases of SAP implementation: setup and live. Live is after your system goes live, your business users are entering transactions. Setup is the pre-go live phase of the project. So how is the SAP system set up? So first you do configuration. The consultants will tell you something called implementation guide or IMG. That's your predefined options. Configuration changes the way the system behaves without requiring any coding. There is no coding involved. There is no programming involved. The consultants, the business consultants that you hire, is going to help you do the configuration so that your future business processes are supported. So setting up your legal entities, setting up your order types, there is no coding involved. The consultants are doing the configuration so that the standard system supports it. The standard system has a variety of options. Setting up the system, setting up the options for your company, that's configuration. Setting up the options for your company without any coding, that's configuration. Enhancement or customization, there is a technical team called ABAP team. That's the programming language of the SAP software. It stands for Advanced Business Application Programming Language, ABAP. If standard SAP software doesn't support it using configuration, you are pretty much writing enhancements. You are pretty much building programs using ABAP to make the system work for you. So ABAP and configuration is setup. ABAP plus configuration is setup. So ABAP, example would be a data conversion program. You want to load your account balances. So there is a data conversion program that you write and load. So that data conversion program is ABAP. A standard SAP report doesn't meet your needs. You are taking an existing report and adding a couple of fields. That's an ABAP development. So that's ABAP. So configuration and programming. ABAP programming is pretty much an SAP implementation. Two things, configuration and custom development. That's pretty much SAP setup. Why is it expensive? An SAP implementation involves matching functionality to business requirements, which means you're changing the business processes. Some aspects of your business needs to change to meet the standard SAP solution. So you have to change some of the business processes that you do. Yours may not be the best practice. SAP comes up with the best practice or standard SAP solution. So you may have to change your business processes. That involves change management. There is dollars involved. Configuring the system to choose the options that SAP provides, any number of options to match SAP functionality with your business needs. That's configuration. That's costing you dollars. You're paying the consultants. Then you are developing new programs and new screens. If configuration doesn't solve your problem, you are enhancing SAP. You are enhancing SAP with custom programs using ABAP. That's expensive. So the dollars are more because you're trying to change some aspects of your business to meet with the SAP standard processes. You're configuring the system, which means changing your settings, and then anything that is not met using configuration, you are enhancing the system using custom development called ABAP. So that's dollars. Some of the methodologies that these companies use. All SAP projects have these phases in very similar terminologies. Blueprinting, project prep, setting up your project teams, that's project definition, that's project prep. Business blueprinting, defining your future state processes, trying to say, okay, how is my company going to operate in future in the SAP world. That's blueprinting. Realization, You are building the system, you are doing the configuration, you are doing all the ABAP development, you are doing the testing. That's realization. So realization involves configuration, custom development and testing. You're also building some security roles. You are building some authorization. Who can access what? That is authorization. Who can access what is authorization or security. Final prep. You are doing some end user training and documentation. End user training. How are the end users getting trained? What kind of documentation that you are building? That's final preparation. Then you are going live. And then you have a support phase. Most SAP projects, this is a standard SAP terminology. It's a 5-phase methodology: project prep, blueprinting, realization, final prep, go live and support. Prep, building your project team. Blueprinting, defining your future state processes. Realization, configuration, custom development and testing. Final prep, end user training and documentation and data transfer. Go live and support. You go live with SAP and you're supporting your end users. That's pretty much different phases of the project. Any questions on any of this? Who is SAP? What are the different products? What's a transaction? What's an SAP implementation? Go back and listen to this video. Thank you.